Hello, everybody. Happy to have you here. As we're joining, probably a lot of you saw this. This is being recorded. I think it came up as you were joining. We will be posting the recording on the working group webpage. So think about now what you want to say, because it will be recorded for posterity. And again, if you're just joining us, Lisa, Tim, others, please rename yourself so we can see what your affiliation is. I think that's helpful for everyone on the call. And then we don't have to wade through miles of chat. Okay, look at this. Lots of people, 28 people. Excellent. Okay, we are going to get started. I want to respect everyone's time here. My name is Erin Whitney. I am a research faculty member at the Alaska Center for Energy and Power, or ACEP, at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, although I sit in our Anchorage office, which is on the University of Alaska Anchorage campus. So if that isn't confusing, there you go. It's a way to start your day. ACEP has offices in Fairbanks, Anchorage, and Juneau. And we work all across the state. Helping me today is Patty Egan, who is running the Zoom channel, taking the recording, taking notes. This is definitely a multiple person effort, and I really appreciate Patty's help. So thank you so much, Patty, for your help. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you today to our kickoff working group meeting. Some of you may recall that we had a brief meeting in the spring where we heard from some high up DOE offices about hydrogen opportunities. We also had a hydrogen workshop, but didn't really get the working group started in earnest until hopefully now. The plan for today, since this is an introductory meeting, it may be a little less structured than future meetings, but I think that's the nature of the beast. We are going to do a quick roundtable of introductions and updates. And I say quick, you don't get more than a minute, if that, because we would be here all day if you take longer than that. And I'd like to hear who you are, and your affiliations are already marked on your name labels, hopefully. You can still do that if you haven't already. And if you have an update in the world of hydrogen in Alaska, either a project that we don't know about, a project that you're thinking about, a burning question on your mind, I think that'll help us take the temperature of where everyone is at in this space right now. So we'll start with the roundtable there. And the other thing I'd like to ask is if there are people that you think should be on this call who aren't, please, you can message Patty directly if you don't want to share their information with the entire group, or you can just message it to the entire group in the chat. Let us know who that person is so we can add them to future invitations, or at least, include them, for notice of the recording later. So, I'm quite certain we haven't included everyone we need to include here. And this is part of the gathering and consensus generating process as we move forward. So after those introductions and notices of people that we should be including as we move into the future, we've got a couple short-term, I'll just call them projects, that I'd like to highlight to potentially focus this group's efforts. So we're not just a amorphous group of folks that are getting together to talk about wandering topics in the future. So we'll bring those up one by one. And then I would like to talk about how we might want to structure our future meetings. And I have some initial ideas, and I'll put those out to the group and see if there is consensus, or if you all think that my ideas need improvement. So we'll see how that goes. So without further ado, let's kick off our introductions. And I am going to hand this over to Founding Director Gwen Holdman to start. And then I will just call on people individually to keep this somewhat orderly. And so Gwen, please take it away and turn on your camera if you can when you do your introduction, and then you're welcome to go back to either your beautiful mugshot or a black screen. And that's not just directed towards Gwen, that's directed towards everybody. So,
all
thank you.
right. Hi, everybody. I'm Gwen Holdman. I am both an affiliated researcher with ACEP and the Associate Vice Chancellor for Research for Innovation Industry Partnerships with the University of Alaska. I just got back from Iceland like 4 hours ago, so I'm in my car driving into town. But yeah, thank you, Erin, for organizing this working group, and I'm glad we have a good turnout today.
Great. Gwen, do you have any updates in the world of hydrogen? Either things that you've done, things that you're thinking about, burning questions for the group?
I mean, hydrogen is something I've kind of been interested in and have kind of worked on for a long time, including dabbling around with some small electrolyzer hydrogen production projects, combining that with propane when I was out at Chena Hot Springs, working on a geothermal power plant out there. I would just say there's a lot of interest right now in Europe in terms of collaboration around hydrogen, other areas, but I don't have anything specific to share today.
Excellent. Okay. I thank you, Gwen. I appreciate that. I'm now going to call on Brad Chastain.
Hi, good morning, folks. My name is Brad Chastain. I'm with the Alaska Gasoline Development Corporation. I'm the Alaska LNG project manager. My interface with this team around hydrogen and the new hydrogen energy economy is driven by a couple of efforts that AGDC is involved with. The first of which is we're working with a Japanese-led private sector group of companies to do a study on low carbon intensity hydrogen in the form of ammonia production in Cook Inlet. And we're also leading the Alaska Hydrogen Hub concept paper submission, which is due shortly. Our submission will be made this Friday on the 4th. The due date is Monday the 7th. And that will be around a Cook Inlet, a low carbon intensity ammonia concept that will deliver over 600 tons per day production, which exceeds the Department of Energy's 50 to 100 minimum tons per day requirement in their hydrogen hub program. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And since I can't take everyone in all at once, do you have any colleagues from AGDC on this call that we need to
No, I don't believe so. It'll just be myself.
Thank you. Let's see here. George Rowe, are you on the call? No. Mike McElhaney, are you on the call?
Yes, good morning. Good afternoon from the Department of Energy. I'm glad to see this group get together. For those of you who don't know me, I'm at the Arctic Energy Office, co-located between Fairbanks and Washington. I'm responsible for our international cooperation and our interagency cooperation. So very excited to see Alaska moving forward in the hydrogen sphere, which is in the hydrogen economy, which of course is a very large priority for the department right now. So very excited. Hope this can be a very productive group. Thanks.
Okay. Mike, do you have anyone else from AEO on the line here?
I don't see anybody else, but the list is long.
Okay. All right. And I'm doing my best to scan things as we talk here. I'd also like to call on Launch Alaska, and I see a couple of you, so I'm going to start with Isaac.
Hi, folks. Isaac Vandenberg at Launch Alaska. Yeah, very interested in this possibility of hydrogen in South Central Alaska with identifying like the airport and Port of Alaska and J-Bear as potential export markets for green hydrogen in particular. And so we've been spending some time just talking to some of the potential customers or end users of hydrogen and getting a feel for kind of the private sector demand for that hydrogen and how it might develop over the next 10 or 15 or 20 years. And so, yeah, great to be a part of this group and look forward to the conversation as we move forward.
Terrific. And I see a couple other launch folks. I'm going to call on Rob Royce next.
Good morning, everybody. Rob Royce. I'm Chief Innovation Officer at Launch Alaska. So as Isaac mentioned, working with a number of partners throughout the state with interest in utilizing hydrogen or exporting hydrogen as well as I should mention a number of companies coming through our cohort and our portfolio engaged in hydrogen, whether via transportation or power generation. But as I think everybody's mentioned, we've seen an increasing interest in hydrogen and look forward to the discussion here today. With that, I'll turn it over to Tim from our group as well.
Thanks, Rob. And another point just to put on the map in terms of potential for demonstration of hydrogen in the transportation application anyway, is with the Arctic Road Rally that we have funding through the Department of Energy, Office of Technology Transitions, and we'd be holding the next Arctic Road Rally in 2023 in the summertime, late July. And the potential there would be to have a hydrogen supported electric vehicle charging station for those vehicles running from Fairbanks up to the North Slope. And certainly reinforce all of what Rob and Isaac just said in terms of the exploration of the potential application of hydrogen in the private space. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. And that's actually going to be one of our short-term projects that we'll see if we can rally some support and expertise around to help you out, Tim. So we'll speak more about that later. Is there anyone else from Launch on the call? I don't see anyone. Okay, great. Is there anyone from AEA on the call? No. Okay. All right. I'm going to go in alphabetical order here. I see Alaska Ammonia, and I think I know who that is, but I'd love to know for sure.
Hi, this is Garrison Coletta of Alaska Ammonia Technology Consortium, and we are working on catalytic systems to efficiently produce ammonia from steam and hydrogen gas. And we're working on partnerships with wind farms. So if you got a large wind farm planned, let us know. We're planning on essentially turning our catalytic reactor into a giant ammonia battery. So I've got to be part of the group and super excited about this stuff. I've been pushing for hydrogen for quite a while, so glad to see you all here.
Great. Where are you based?
I'm here in Fairbanks.
You're in Fairbanks. Okay. Terrific. Terrific. Okay. Bill Leedy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. All right, thank you. Bill Leedy in Juneau. I'm one of the 7 directors of the Leedy Foundation, a small charitable family foundation founded by my father 30 years ago. I've co-authored research papers on especially pipelining hydrogen for the last 20 plus years. And finally, the dog has caught the car and everybody's interested in hydrogen. I'm on the advisory committee for the Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub, that application for $1 billion or so that everybody seems quite interested in. And also, I'm interested in the green corridor concept, nascent now for the Southeast Alaska cruise ship industry, to green that whole enterprise. I think they're just beginning, so they don't quite know what their objectives are yet, but that would represent a huge market for hydrogen or hydrogen-derived fuels like methanol. We're not going to use ammonia to fuel cruise ships, for both the ships and shoreside activities as part of that nascent hydrogen hub for the Pacific Northwest. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you being here today. Bob Sykes. Bob, are you with us?
You talking to me?
Yes, yes. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, this is Bob Seitz. I've been an electrical engineer in Alaska since 1968. I've been chasing hydrogen in Alaska with the idea of having it used as a energy storage source in our remote communities since 1980, but it's taken until recently for things to mature enough that we're finally looking at it. I've been working in the oil patch since 1980, and I'm trying to use my experience with the oil and gas process industry to help with whatever we need to do on small or large hydrogen projects to make ammonia or other liquid fuels, or just store it as a gas. And I'm now retired from the oil patch.
Great, thank you. Brian Rogers.
Sorry, Brian Rogers, Alaska Microgrid Group, currently working with ACEP on a study of decarbonization of the rail belt utility grid.
Terrific. Thank you, Brian. Chris Humphrey.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Chris Humphrey at DXP Energy Services. We're a nationwide environmental engineering consulting company. I run our Alaska operations. I've been in Alaska for nearly 46 years. We cover traditional energy projects, but our focus of late has been in low carbon transition energy projects, which include renewables, hydrogen, and other things. For purpose of this call, I am working with Brad Chastain and AGDC on the Hydrogen Hub, Alaska Hydrogen Hub submittal, and we've been providing primary support for that effort. And Jeff Ron is also on the call, and I'll turn it over to him for a short introduction.
Thanks, Chris, and hello, everyone. Jeff Ron here, also with EXP, based in Anchorage, helping Chris grow our business in energy transition and low carbon services. Also helping support the effort for the concept paper through AGDC. Interested in Alaska cementing its foundation around leveraging natural gas and then transitioning, obviously, to renewable sources of hydrogen power, tidal base load, and then others as well. So happy to be a part of the conversation.
Terrific, thank you. Chris Lee.
Hi, everybody. This is Chris Lee. I'm the CEO of Tidal Energy Corp, based in Anchorage, Alaska. We are developing a 137 square mile, 10-meter tide site just off the shore of Anchorage between Fire Island and Kenai. I'm on the National Hydropower Association's Marine Energy Council leadership team as the co-lead of their legislative affairs group. And I have been very excited to work in the hydrogen sphere, as I see it's the bridge between offshore renewable energy and market. I am also an advisor on the AGDC Hydrogen Hub paper as well.
Terrific. Christian Rabidi.
Hi, Christian from USNC. I'm the VP for Business Development for the US, well, USNC stands for the Ultra Safe Nuclear Corporation. We have a micromodular reactor for production of heat and electricity, CO2-free, high temperature, which is a very nice fit for hydrogen application. I'm here also with my colleague, Daniel Ludwig. I'm not sure if I will be able to stay for the whole meeting, so in case Daniel will cover for me.
Okay, thank you. Dan, would you like to introduce yourself? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, trouble with the mute button there. Yeah, Dan Ludwig with Ultra Safe Nuclear Corporation. Yeah, just looking at opportunities for hydrogen generation from low carbon nuclear power. So looking forward to the discussion today. Thanks.
Terrific. David Clark.
Good morning, everyone. I'm David Clark, the Engineering Director for Alaska Marine Power, or AMP. It's a newly formed company to evaluate the feasibility of large-scale offshore wind in the Lower Cook Inlet. The potential is about at least an order of magnitude greater than the rail belt demand. So we're looking at hydrogen opportunities and very interested to learn more about the potential for green ammonia exports and also green sustainable aviation fuel to the Anchorage Airport and to JBER.
Terrific, thank you. Elise DeGeorge.
Yes, hi. My name is Elise DeGeorge, and I'm with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. I live in Anchorage, and I've been working on renewable energy projects in both water power and wind. I'm currently PI on a project we're doing for the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management to look at marine energy and offshore wind opportunities on the outer continental shelf in Alaska. And it includes resource assessment as well as techno-economic analysis, with green hydrogen playing a big role in that techno-economic analysis. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. And I see George from Anchorage.
Thanks, Aaron. I've just been a person who's been very interested in hydrogen, and I see that it as being one of those places where we're gonna be able to make some big inroads in the hard to decarbonize part of our energy system and transportation system. And I think that Alaska is really well positioned because we are on the Great Circle route, and so we'd be able to trade and export hydrogen in whatever form works best, but also be able to power those ships using that.
Great. George, are you willing to say your last name for the benefit of the group?
Yeah, George Donard, I'm sorry, Donart.
Donart, for those who are interested. Haley Payne.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Haley Payne. I know how to work my video. There we go. I'm from the Alaska Department of Natural Resources. My interest in hydrogen is really just more maybe a related field. DNR is looking closely at carbon capture, utilization, and storage. And so we really want to understand sort of the relationship of CCUS with other market opportunities, including hydrogen. So thanks for letting me participate.
Thank you. Jeremy Casper, and Jeremy Casper is our director. I'm sorry, Jeremy, I didn't see you early, or I would have let you kick this thing off. So with my apologies, please introduce yourself.
No problem. And I got here a little bit late, so that might be why I didn't show up. So thanks for putting this on, Aaron. I am the interim director of the Alaska Center for Energy and Power. My background is actually in marine energy, so tidal, wave, and river. And I think given the interest in Cook Inlet and developing that resource, that's also kind of an order of a magnitude larger than what the rail belt currently uses. So there's definitely an opportunity there for export of hydrogen, whatever form that takes.
Thank you, Jeremy. John Welborn.
Yeah, John Wilborn with the Space Missile Defense Command at Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. And we're actually the senior mission commander at Fort Greeley. Our commander is based here. He oversees function, but that's all. With the mission, we're looking at climate change and reduction of fossil fuels, looking for alternative energy sources. And one of the areas we're looking at is fuel cells, different type of technologies so we can reduce our dependence upon fossil fuels.
Thank you very much. J.R. Wilcox.
Let's see here. Hey, how you doing? This is J.R. Wilcox, ACEP. We're developing a chemical plant on the North Slope. Two main things it's going to be doing initially are making methanol and using hydrogen in order to remove sulfur from diesel in order to make it cleaner. We have a lot of potential being hooked into the North Slope gas to do lots of interesting things with hydrogen and ammonia, methanol production, and help sort of, I think our role in this is trying to use make hydrocarbons cleaner. I think methanol, is also sort of interesting in that it's, something that can be burned, in an engine pretty similar to an internal combustion engine. So we're trying to do some work to see if methanol or dual fuel methanol diesel engines, which are already being built and used in other parts of the world, could be brought into the U.S. I think there's a lot of applications in Alaska, and it's I believe the densest form of hydrogen. So anyway, we're looking forward to do that and want to be in the conversation. We think we're creating what will be a platform for innovation.
Thank you, JR. Carrie Grantham.
Hi, everyone. Carrie Grantham from NREL, and I'm supporting Elise DeGeorge on the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management project here at NREL. Looking forward to listening to the conversation.
you. Continuing with the Ks, I see Kay Hurst, who I think is Katie Hurst from NREL, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yes, it is, Erin. Good to see
Nice
you.
to see you.
Yeah, no, so I'm Katie Hurst. I'm the group manager for a group that looks at hydrogen hardware systems, modeling and analysis of those systems. Our group does the megawatt scale demonstration at Aries, if you're familiar with that. And we also have a heavy duty filling station out back, and have a lot of work in hydrogen sensors. So looking forward to hearing about what's going on in Alaska.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to do Kirk Waltz and then Kai Holland after that. And I'm giving Kai a little bit of a heads up because it looked like he was driving, so I don't want to stun him. So Kirk, take it away.
All right. My name is Kirk Waltz. I work for American Bureau of Shipping. I'm in Houston, Texas. And we're focused on the maritime aspects of hydrogen hubs and the kind of the nascent green shipping corridors that Bill Leidy mentioned. And we are, looking for opportunities to contribute maritime details to the Alaskan Hydrogen Hub or the working group.
Great. Kai, are you ready to say something?
I am. I found a nice spot to pull over and listen to this and be ready. Thank you for that that foresight. I'm Kai Holland. One of the roles I have is one of the co-founders of Mighty Pipeline. We're an Alaska organization that came out of some UAF work and the lab embedded entrepreneurial program, and have developed technology for moving ammonia, whether it's blue or green, through existing hydrocarbon infrastructure, more specifically to be able to take the ammonia that could be produced on the North Slope and move it down through the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, and using that existing infrastructure to bring the ammonia down to Tidewater and then from there exporting it. We're also working on a concept paper for a hydrogen hub and would love to look for opportunities to partner with others. We're also very interested in the carbon sequestration issue because of how important it is to the blue ammonia production, and have been working with some folks in Japan that have a keen interest in Alaska's ability to be a resource. I refer to it as kind of a reverse carbon resource. We've spent most of our economic life pulling hydrocarbons out of the ground, and we now have a future opportunity to put it back in the ground and to make that something important for our future. At any rate, I appreciate the opportunity to join the discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. And I'm going to let Nathan Prisco, who I think I saw on the call, go after you since he's also involved with Mighty Pipeline. Nathan, are you here?
Yes, thank you, Erin. And for those still working on our Alaska project, I haven't been circulating the proposal, but really look forward to sharing with y'all in the coming months as we're trying to identify not only export opportunities but in domestic and use opportunities in Alaska. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Nathan. Is there anyone else here from Mighty Pipeline that you want to tag off to?
That should be all of us.
Okay, great. How about Levi Kilcher?
Hey everybody, I'm Levi Kilcher with NREL. I lead marine energy resource characterization at the lab. I've definitely been sort of promoting this Cook Inlet Tidal Energy project with Jeremy, and we're working with him on a plan for kind of what it would look like to actually build that out at a larger scale. But I think more generally, I'm also interested in the fact that Alaska has massive renewable energy resources that exceed the load, and I see there's this parallel effort going on of planning the future of Alaska's rail belt. And how to power this, and then of course there's the rural question. And to me, hydrogen is just like right at the nexus of sort of all three of these questions of powering the rail belt with renewables, powering rural Alaska, and creating export for Alaska's renewable markets. And so just really excited to be a part of this conversation.
Terrific. Thank you, Levi. I see Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Baroff, and I'm here in Fairbanks, and I don't know, hopefully you can hear me all right. I have to zoom in from my phone.
Yep, we can hear you. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Yeah. And I've been engaged with renewable energy and climate change issues in both volunteer and paid positions over the years. I'm actually here as an individual, not in a paid role today. And I also serve on the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly Climate Action Committee, and just looking forward to learning more. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Masha Koleva, I may be mispronouncing that. I apologize.
No, that was actually perfect. I'm Masha Koleva, research engineer at NREL, supporting Elise on the project that you mentioned about the techno-economic analysis for hydrogen production from tidal and offshore wind, and how it will meet future demands in Alaska and outside of Alaska. Prior to that, I was a research analyst at the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technologies Office, and one of the co-authors of the DOE's National Clean Hydrogen Roadmap and Strategy. It's great to see so many people interested in hydrogen.
Thank you. All right, we've got our two Michaels next. We'll do Michael McElhaney. Actually, Mike, you already introduced yourself, so let's go to Michael with him. Michael with them here. Going once, going twice. We'll come back.
This is Tim. I saw Michael's mouth moving on the video, but I didn't see any audio come through or hear it.
Michael, if you can hear us, can you unmute yourself? Okay, we will come back to you, I promise. I apologize for any technical difficulties. Let's go on to Michelle Anderson, please.
Oh, hi. I'm from Office of Naval Research, and I fund quite a bit of work at ACEP, Launch Alaska, and REAP. And there's been growing interest within the Navy and Marine Corps for hydrogen as a fuel for a lot of different applications. I've been looking at it in my programs for probably the last 10 to 15 years, primarily for unmanned systems, fuel cell based propulsion systems that use hydrogen as the fuel, primarily air and undersea unmanned vehicles. Given that my long-term investment in the area, it's in some ways very exciting that hydrogen is starting to get a lot of attention, and I think a lot of opportunity there, a lot of potential applications. So I look forward to seeing where Alaska takes it.
Thank you, Michelle. Mike Kraft, representing all of Alaska.
No, not all of Alaska, just Fairbanks. No, my name is Mike Kraft. I am the owner-operator of the Delta Wind Farm. We currently produce about 2 megawatts and have a potential to go to about 35 megawatts of wind power. And we are exploring how to potentially monetize that additional capacity in the form of ammonia. So we are currently working on an opportunity to chase about 1,000 tons a day of ammonia production, and very excited to be part of this discussion. Thank you.
Excellent. Moira Smith from NSTAR.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Moira Smith, and I'm Vice President and General Counsel here at NSTAR. We transport natural gas throughout Cook Inlet and have done so since 1961 through over 300 miles of transmission pipelines and over 3,000 miles of distribution pipeline. We also have a storage facility down in Kenai that has been in operation for 10 years, storing natural gas. That's how we're warm. That's how more than 90% of the electricity is generated here in South Central on a cold day. And it's also the case that we are in the process of being purchased by a new owner that has a project to install wind farms off of the coast of Nova Scotia and then use electrolysis to generate hydrogen. And so we're excited to think about what the future might look like. And I can't say that we're pro decarbonization per se, but we're definitely interested in learning what the opportunities are and learning from people like Bill Lady about what our pipelines could withstand. So thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Myra Blaylock.
Hi, I'm Myra Blaylock. I'm here from Sandia National Labs in Livermore, California. I do modeling for hydrogen safety codes and standards, as well as some wind energy modeling as well. I'm also working on a project that Sandia is doing that are looking for opportunities for Port of Alaska that will come from the clean energy transition.
Thank you. Rafael Martinez.
Hi, everybody. I'm unlimited bandwidth out here at Fort Greely, Alaska, so no video. But I did find out about you while I was at the Energy Exchange 2022 event last week, and got a lot of good ideas from NREL about producing hydrogen. So I'm interested to talk to Mr. Wellborn a little bit more later. I'm glad to see some other folks are interested in making cleaner energy available out here at Fort Greely in the middle of nowhere in Alaska.
Thank you. We're glad you could join us today, Rafael. Richard Garrett.
Hey, I'm Richard Garrett. I'm also with Sandia National Labs, like Myra and my colleague Matt Ulrichs. While Sandia conducts a lot of renewable energy technology work in Alaska, we're keenly interested in partnering and identifying opportunities to explore a renewable energy transition roadmap in the Upper Cook Inlet. And it seems like hydrogen is going to play a big part of that as a key renewable energy product for export out of the Port of Alaska, like Myra mentioned. Just a quick note, Matt and I are actually in Anchorage right now and are happy to meet with folks who want to talk more.
Okay, thanks. And I don't know if Matt did Matt introduce himself already?
No, yeah, he says he doesn't need to be.
Okay,
He's
that's
right
Matt
here.
Ulrichs. Okay, hiding out on somebody else's Zoom.
Right.
Ron Johnson. Ron Johnston, are you with us? Scanning all my little boxes here. Okay, Ron, we can come back to you if you're trying to connect. And in the meantime, we are going to move to Shayna Kilcoyne. Oh, sorry, Ron, are you trying to say something?
I just unmuted myself. That was my problem.
Okay.
I'm joining the group just to find out more about what people are doing. I was head of the UAF Energy Center around the year 2000, 4 years, and we did work on proton membrane fuel cells, proton exchange membrane fuel cells, published some papers and evaluated the energy situation with them. So I'm just interested to see what people are doing.
Terrific. Thank you. Shayna Kilcoyne.
Hi, everyone. Shayna Kilcoyne. This is my second week with Alaska Venture Fund, where I'm exploring energy and climate transition opportunities. And I'm particularly interested in the market for green hydrogen for local use and export. So thank you so much for the opportunity to join this discussion, Erin.
Terrific. Thank you, Shayna. Tamara Maddox.
Hi, everyone. This is Tamara Maddox. I'm with Alaska Oil and Gas Association. Thank you for this meeting. Just joining on to see what's going on in this space and to learn about possibilities and opportunities. Again, thank you for the meeting.
Thank you. I see a couple new arrivals since we started the introductions. George, would you like to just give us a rundown on any updates on your end?
Yeah, hi, this is George Rowe, Arctic Energy Office of the U.S. Department of Energy. Super interested in hydrogen, really grateful to ACEP for leading this working group. My interests in hydrogen are both from a commodity perspective and also renewables integration. And in particular, I'm excited to pursue international collaboration space in this regard.
Thank you. And Ingemar, I see you've joined us.
Yeah, good morning, afternoon. Yeah, I'm with North Starting Borough, Ingemar Mathiasen, Energy Manager, and I've always been interested in hydrogen ever since I had my own little electrolyzer and just about blew myself up in Ambler about 8 years ago. So I want to definitely see how it fits into the picture, and curious to see what people are doing with it in different places and different options that make sense. So thank you for inviting.
Thank you. I see a phone number ending with 057. Is there someone on the phone who would like to introduce themselves? Okay, let's go back to Michael Whittam. Michael, did you, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, phone number, go ahead.
So I'm phone number. My name is Teresa M. And I'm calling in. I don't have good receptivity where I am, so hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm representing several different entities, local entities on the North Slope of Alaska with respect to gathering information as it relates to hydrogen, hopefully for, you know, long-term conversion from diesel to hydrogen or other sources of alternative energy on the North Slope. I was involved in the fuel cell for the North Slope Borough, I don't know, 15 or so years ago. And so, you know, I've had an interest in hydrogen for quite some time. I'm glad that it's picking back up again and looking for, you know, meeting everybody at some point and hopeful collaborations as it relates to North Slope natural gas and potential conversion to hydrogen for community use. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Michael Whittam, are you with us and can
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Wonderful.
I have no idea what happened there. I'm Mike Whittam. I'm the Alaska Power Gen Sales Manager for Pacific Power Group here in Anchorage. We represent MTU Rolls-Royce and Volvo Penta. So we sell traditional diesel generator sets. One of our specialties is custom-built rural utility generator sets. We also offer, you know, gaseous fueled spark ignited units, also biofuel, where you're combining a gaseous fuel with a compression ignited diesel engine. So with MTU, one of the products I represent, they've just developed, you know, their fuel system for their spark ignited engines to run off of 20% hydrogen. They're looking at, you know, achieving 100% here in coming years. We also offer some microgrid components, battery energy storage, dynamic UPS systems, which is essentially a flywheel, synchronous condenser, diesel generator set all in one. And we also market hydrogen fuel cells and electrolyzers.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone that we missed or who might have joined late who would like to introduce themselves? Okay, well, we got through, it looks like 44 introductions in 47 minutes. Good job, everybody. Really appreciate that. I am going to encourage all of you, if there are additional people who we should include moving forward in this group, please, you can either, if you don't think they'll mind, you can put their name and email addresses into the group chat to everyone, or just to Patty Egan, who is our facilitator here, so that we can include them in future correspondence. We're still trying to gather the tribe here. So again, we want to be as inclusive as possible and make sure we include all relevant parties and interested parties moving forward. So once again, there are folks that you think should be here who may not have known about today's invitation. Please put their names and contact info either into the group chat or to Patty individually. So thank you for that. What a bunch of interesting and exciting introductions here. Lots going on. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the recording because it was hard for me to take notes and keep track of calling on everyone at the same time. What I would like to move to next is some short-term projects as a way to help focus this group's effort. And the first one, which I think is really exciting and was hinted at by Tim Leach from Launch Alaska in his introduction, was the upcoming next iteration of the Arctic Road Rally for next summer. I think Tim said that will be planned for late July in 2023. And their need for hydrogen fueling stations, since it's not on the grid. And what I'm hoping, Tim, you can do with help from anyone else on this call, is to describe the opportunity and then solicit some folks from this group that you can pull off to help you with that endeavor, either people who have access to hydrogen charging stations, or who can help you shepherd the technology and the pieces and the parts to make that happen. So I will let you, Tim, introduce the opportunity, and then perhaps we'll ask folks to indicate their interest in continuing to work with you based on what you describe as the needs. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Thanks for teeing me up, Aaron, there. And yes, as Aaron mentioned, Tim Leach, Launch Alaska Transportation Lead again. And as I briefly mentioned and Aaron teed up, we have an Office of Technology, our Department of Energy Office of Technology Transitions grant, under which we have this Arctic Road Rally, which is a technology demonstration for electric vehicles. And really that's to help raise awareness around electric vehicle performance by bringing electric vehicles from Fairbanks, driving them from Fairbanks up to the northernmost drivable point in the US. We did a test drive this past August, and then next summer, towards the end of July, we'll be doing that again. What we're interested in doing is to decarbonize those power sources and energy sources along the route, so that we're not in a few of those locations just dependent on diesel generators. So really for a couple of those locations, specifically around the Yukon River, and then in Coldfoot, where there are existing diesel generators that we've connected into this prior year, we're looking for solutions, technology solutions that can bring some sort of a decarbonized electric vehicle charging solution into play. And one of those potentials fits exactly, I think, with what we could be talking about here. And that's really a hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle charging station, kind of as a combined unit, or perhaps just a fuel cell as a standalone power unit, and then connecting in kind of off the shelf EV charging to that. So a couple of options there. We've definitely been talking about this with our colleagues at ACEP, as well as our colleagues at Sandia, around some potential research project, and then how we could take some of the lessons learned off of this demonstration and apply those in other rural locations, either in Alaska or in other locations in the lower 48, who do have some low infrastructure, but do have the need for some of the EV charging, say around the NEVI funding, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure funding, that wouldn't be on distribution level electric utility grid. So that's kind of the concept here. Timing again, end of July next year. I know that's not a lot of time to develop a project, but we've been doing that for other purposes here. So really trying to compress that timeline. What we're interested in and seeking again here from this group would be any of those who are technology providers who have essentially the hardware, the hydrogen fuel charging station as a combined unit or some components of those. And then of course we need that actual hydrogen as well. So we need to have hydrogen as a source, and then we need to also ensure that we can deliver that to the location that is going to be using that for the hydrogen fuel cell. That's the high level view. I'm sure there's more we could talk about, but Aaron, if you wanted to facilitate any other thoughts or questions there, go for it.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Let me just open it up to any questions or clarifications from folks on the call related to the needs or things that they might be able to provide. Anyone want to add anything to Tim's introduction? No one has some parts and pieces they can put to the charge?
I would say just a moment more, there are a couple of companies that we've been talking with over the last year or so who have some of those parts and pieces, specifically some of those combined units, the hydrogen fuel cell charging stations. And there are some dual fuel units that are out there that I'm sure some of you have also seen that can run off of hydrogen or liquid natural gas. So if we can find the hydrogen solution there, that's preferable since that's lower carbon, and that's what we're all probably pointing towards, and certainly what DOE is interested in. So if there are, don't be shy, I guess. You don't have to have the complete solution here. If there are components that you might have to offer, certainly feel free to reach out. And I see Patty put the website for the Arctic Road Rally in the chat. Thanks. Feel free to reach out through that website, or I'll put my email into the chat as well.
Tim, Bill Leedy here.
Tim, can you hear me okay?
Okay, go ahead, George.
Yeah, so I just wondered if, Tim, you would be willing to make available the specs for the charging stations that were both the analysis that you did previously and then maybe updates from the lessons learned, so people could look at sizing of their systems versus what the need is.
Thanks, George. Yeah, really briefly, we've got the track record of using fairly small charging of this past August of 50 kW units. What we'd like to do is bring that up to about 150 kW at least. And some of those who do have charging solutions can bring it up to even 350 kW. So it depends a little bit on the site here, and happy to go into more detail in an offline conversation. But generally, what we're looking for is 150 kW charging solution.
Okay, Bill Leedy, did I see you wanting to say something?
Yes, I wear another hat. Our small company, Alaska Applied Sciences, Inc. We've applied for over 7 years for funding from DOE under various programs for novel power electronics for off-grid production of hydrogen from wind plus PV. And we've accumulated a couple of used electrolysis plants, proton on-site H6Ms, and a compressor and a deionizer to use for that, but haven't found funding yet. So those are available to others who are wanting to do R&D programs in that realm. Thank you.
Bill, thank you. Happy to follow up with you later on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Hurst, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I just had a question about, so has anything been purchased yet, or is that the place you're at right now is trying to figure out what to purchase?
Well, we've got, great question. So we've got the test drive here that we've done this last year, and that was using kind of the off-the-shelf EV charging technology. We'll be doing largely the same next year with just larger charging units. The proofs of concept that we have as part of our grant that we're working towards, that we do not have any purchased equipment on, is really around something that is going to decarbonize those points on the map that are currently diesel dependent. And that could include the EV charging solution that's hydrogen based or natural gas based for power production. So the quick answer is no, we don't have purchased equipment, and would be looking to have entities that could partner in to do the demonstration. So if there's a company, specifically if it's a startup or another company who's interested in saying, hey, we've got this, we'd like to demonstrate its performance in this type of an application and environment, and potentially use that as traction for their own business purposes. We've essentially got the place, they can bring the equipment, and then we can do the coordination on logistics to make sure that that works well for the actual charging of the vehicles we're talking about.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Nathan, did I see you trying to say something earlier? Looked like your video was trying to come on and off. Nathan, that's Nathan Prisco.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was just thinking about it, and for our project, there might also be some wind power opportunities on the North Slope in connection with a production facility. So that's just, I believe, about 10 megawatts.
Thank you. And Nathan, follow-up question on that. The wind power production for hydrogen, in terms of timing of when that could produce hydrogen, do you have an estimate as to when that hydrogen would be available?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be electrolysis. It would be, sort of work up power supply for a gas plant. But timeline, if we reach technical and regulatory milestones, would be 2030, 2032.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions, any further questions or clarifications for Tim on this project? Okay, Tim, I will leave it to you to follow up with the folks who spoke up here, and others, if you have input. Tim's email address is there in the chat, and Tim will look forward to updates from you on that, hopefully at future meetings, and it would be great to see some of these come into fruition at the event next year. So thank you for leading that up.
Thanks,
okay. The next short-term goal here that I want to put out there is the development of a state roadmap for hydrogen. And we have not been directed to do this, nor do I believe there is necessarily state direction to do this. But what I would love, and I will just say that I'm hoping to corral input and from everyone here on such a product. But what I think I would like to do is see if there's anyone interested in helping hash out, you know, an outline for such a product, after which we would, you know, farm out different pieces and parts and all of that to the larger group. So this would be largely sort of an organizing and spearheading role. So even if you're not participating in the organizing part, I want to assure you that I want to come to this whole group, you know, as we move forward there. Before I solicit interest, I'm hoping that Gwen is still on the line. And Gwen, I know I didn't give you a heads up about this, but I am hoping, Gwen, that you might be able to provide a little bit of a context for the creation of a state roadmap, since I know you are one of our valued liaisons with the governor's office, just in terms of what that would mean, and the, you know, the fact that we don't have direction from the state, but how it could be used moving forward. Gwen, are you still here?
Yeah, Erin, I did turn on my camera here, so you should be able to see me. So yeah, I mean, I think right now, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the state, and I don't know if anyone from the state is here other than Haley, but you know, the state recently formed this Office of Energy Innovation, and a big goal for that, I think, as I understand it anyway, and you guys are welcome to check out the press release and the administrative order associated with that if you haven't seen it. But the goal is really to sort of pull together a lot of these different threads around planning, around developing an energy policy and a strategy for the state. And I think that I believe that the governor's office is quite keenly interested in hydrogen as a component of that. With that being said, you know, my understanding is that there's interest in moving forward with some planning efforts that are kind of needed in the shorter term. So like one example would be is that the Alaska Center for Energy and Power is moving forward with working with stakeholders to develop a roadmap around nuclear energy. And so I think a big part of that is if you're going to develop a roadmap, there's actually got to be a purpose for it. Like what's actually the end goal or the end product. And, you know, in that case, there's both a concerted effort to look at the need for potentially some policy changes, but then also looking for how we can kind of support communities in the state and industry as a whole to kind of collect and compile the information we need, or a path for a community to really consider a microreactor as potentially part of their future energy mix. And so it's including a number of different activities related to that. And the idea would be that a roadmap like that could then fit into a broader energy strategy for the state that I do think that there's interest in developing. And so I think hydrogen would sort of similarly fit into something like that. I know at one point in time, we'd really talked about the need for a roadmap as potentially a component for the response to the Hydrogen Hub FOA for Department of Energy. I think that the timing for that has sort of passed a little bit, but that doesn't mean that, you know, there isn't a lot of other reasons why we would want to organize ourselves around a strategy around hydrogen, whether you call that a roadmap basically just, what are steps that the state can be doing and what are the steps that stakeholders can be taking to move this technology area forward? Like what kind of information do we need? What should we form some subgroups that, are doing specific things? Are there some changes to policy that might be needed? There's a lot of ways that hydrogen fits in with a lot of other strategic planning efforts that are happening around the state, whether that's related to rural energy or whether that's related to a CCS hub or some of the work that Brad and AGDC are involved with. So anyway, I guess I'm kind of rambling a little because, like you said, you didn't give me too much of a heads up on that. But I think that there can be a need to, there can be some value in developing a written strategy if there is a specific goal or an outcome that would require a certain amount of stakeholders coming together around a particular initiative.
Great. Thank you, Gwen. And I apologize for not giving you that heads up. That was perfect. So I'm a little afraid to ask because I'm afraid that everyone's going to want to be involved. So let me just see what the response is. And again, this is just to have sort of a small breakout group think about the organization of a roadmap plan, after which we will, farm out different pieces to the wider group. So you don't have to be an organizing member to have input, and hopefully it doesn't scare everybody off. But if you're interested in having sort of a small breakout group here to talk about what that structure might look like, please put your name in the chat and we will collect that. And you can just put it there for everyone to see if you're interested in being part of a smaller group that can work and then bring something back to this larger group. So again, put your name in the chat. And let me also just ask if there are any questions or insights related to putting together a hydrogen roadmap. And I will just say at the outset that I don't have all the answers right now, but would love to hear the discussion or concerns for that matter too. Nathan?
Yeah, so I think one challenge is just trying to imagine and sort of quantify how much the demand could be, if Alaska is going to, move towards hydrogen fueling stations or even, what types of conversion technologies would be, suitable, because we know, ammonia could be good, but, there's the NOx issue. So really, I think in the coming years, it's just really understanding, what how much hydrogen or hydrogen carriers that could be used in Alaska and how those what are the first markets.
Thank you for that, Nathan. Appreciate it. Does that mean you're volunteering to be on an organizing committee, or you just want to make your pitch heard there?
I mean, I'd be happy to participate for sure. In any way I can. It's just, I guess that's sort of when thinking of roadmap, that's, I think, part of the big unknown is how to get it into Alaska's energy systems.
Terrific. Thank you. Any other priorities, concerns, questions, comments on a roadmap effort? Mike Kraft.
Yes, thank you. I think that we ought to be looking at leveraging the world market for ammonia as an opportunity to create ammonia that can be used in Alaska, and the derivative of that would be hydrogen, obviously. But there seems like, when you look at the market in Alaska, it's pretty limited in scale compared to the amount of fertilizer and ammonia that's currently in demand. And obviously that demand is falling, that the supply is falling short of demand worldwide right now. So I think that the idea of, creating an opportunity to export ammonia would certainly lend itself to the in-state use of it. And the economy of scale would be a lot better as well. And the potential market is literally unlimited. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. And I see Kai has his hand up as well.
in response to your question, I just was looking for clarification with this effort you're mapping out. Are you including carbon sequestration within the scope of that, or is that a separate issue? I know the SEDS suggested that there was a separation between a hydrogen hub strategy and a carbon sequestration strategy, or hub and strategy. So are you looking at that as all one thing, or is that a separate issue to try and develop a working group to develop that piece of the puzzle?
There is a separate carbon capture sequestration working group. So we'll have to think about, to what extent it makes sense to include that in a roadmap, because presumably they have their own activities. And I know that Haley Payne is also on this call, and she's quite intimately involved with that. So that might be an offline discussion that we have just in terms of this particular effort. Is that, I know that's sort of a non-answer, Kai, but is that okay for now?
Yeah, that's satisfactory. There's more clarification on whether or not it was a clear path forward, and it sounds like you're aware of it, but it's still being developed. So that's great for the moment. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I see Bill Leedy has his hand up.
Well, and a sobering note for us all, and encouraging in a way. I alert us to going to Clear Air Task Force and looking for their recent publication on deep hot dry rock geothermal energy. They call it super hot rock, Clean Air Task Force, I think it is. And when that becomes commercially available to us, a lot of our thinking now about moving energy as hydrogen, ammonia, or other energy carriers and storage media will become probably obsolete, because we'll be able to derive all the energy we need, both as electricity and copious hot water for district heating and cooling systems, from the new technology of being able to bore deep enough, cheap enough, right beneath our feet to do that. That's still years away, but we also don't want to spend a lot of money in expensive infrastructure to move hydrogen and ammonia around if soon we'll be making it from energy beneath our feet. So at least have a look at that report that they've just published. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you by chance have a link to it that you could put in the chat? I suppose we can all go Google it as well. We can't hear you, Bill. You're muted.
Good idea. I'll work on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other comments or questions there? And I thank you also to the folks who have offered to be on a organizing subcommittee. Again, with the caveat that everyone will have input on this. Okay, terrific. Moving on to another short-term project. I am going to turn to George Rowe right now. George, you and I talked earlier about the possibility of exploring an Alaska-Iceland partnership. And I want to check as a short-term project, and I want to check in and see what your thoughts are with regard to that. If it's too early to move on this, we can table it, but if you would like some people to help you flesh out some of your ideas, I'd love to have you provide some context for the group. Is George still on, or did I just talk to the black hole?
Aaron, this is Gwen. If George isn't on, or if he's still trying to find his unmute button, I just got back from Iceland, and there's actually a lot of interest in working with Alaska across a whole range of different areas. And I spoke with their foreign ministry about developing an MOU that would be specifically between Alaska and Iceland, around like a number of different, like fairly specific and targeted goals and thematic areas. And so I'll just kind of throw that out, that's something that I'm hoping that we can be doing through this coordinating or convening function through our Office of Energy Innovation.
Okay. Do you have any immediate needs around that task? Oh, sorry, Jeremy, I see that you're unmuted as well.
Well, I was going to ask, why specific to Iceland? So I actually just got back from Scotland, 1 hour ahead of Gwen. and they're very interested in working with Alaska as well, and they've actually made quite a bit of progress on hydrogen. So I think maybe not limit it just to Iceland.
Okay. Okay. Gwen and Jeremy, I'm going to charge you two with having a further conversation about that. And I will both also ask either of you to, do you have any immediate needs with regard to thinking about an MOU or a partnership, or with regard to projects or information exchange between Alaska and either Iceland, Scotland, or another foreign country for that matter?
Bill dropped in here the dry rock, there's a couple of projects they have around geothermal and, this Iceland deep drilling project and a few other things. That would probably be one aspect of a collaboration with Iceland. They've worked on hydrogen in the past more than what they're doing, necessarily right now. And I don't know what George's thinking is on that. So I guess I would be really interested to hear from the Arctic Energy Office. And if George is not on anymore, then I guess I'd like to follow up with him later. At least from my perspective, a lot of the collaboration we were thinking of was not specific to hydrogen, but there's no reason why we couldn't add that in. And so so basically I was working with the foreign ministry and with their director of their Department of Energy, essentially, which is Halla Hun Logastóttir, who is essentially their Secretary of Energy.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
In terms of Scotland, I don't think there's any specific action items for the group on this one. There's a bunch of action items on my list, basically sent a bunch of emails as a follow-up. And one interesting thing to note about Scotland, we'll see how this plays out, but with Brexit, they're seriously considering leaving the UK, and it seems like that's going to happen. So energy is not currently devolved from England at this point. So they do not have a Secretary of Energy right now. Only certain sectors have been what they call devolved from London. But shortly that could change. And I was in contact with their essentially it's their equivalent of their foreign ministry as well, although they don't have a Department of Energy yet per se. But no action items right now.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate that. And hopefully we can get more from George in future meetings. I'll also direct folks' attention to the chat in answer to Kai's earlier question about carbon capture and storage. There's some information there from Haley Payne about upcoming carbon capture roadmap planning meetings on November 7th. So our meeting is well timed, and I will direct you to her information there if you want to get more involved with that, and we'll certainly keep our finger on the pulse of that there. Thank you, Haley, for providing that information. We really appreciate it. Let me ask the group, are there any other short-term projects? And by these, I mean sort of tangible things that anyone is working on that they would perhaps like to harness the efforts and expertise of this larger group for in the near term. Okay. Oh, JR.
Sorry, so I mentioned this earlier, but we've been trying to work to see ways to get engines that are able to burn methanol, able to be legally distributed inside of Alaska. There's a lot of that movement in the marine space to adopt methanol, particularly green methanol, as a replacement for traditional hydrocarbon fuels. It's, I think a lot of the problems are sort of what Nathan said. If we're going to promote adoption of hydrogen as a fuel in Alaska. One of the problems is going to be the transportation of it, because we're not going to have an integrated pipeline network going all over the place, and a lot of our uses are going to be transportation based. So I think methanol is an interesting part of the mix. So we've written up a white paper. I know that we're trying to, and we've talked with ACEP in the past about this, but we're continuing to sort of push that effort forward on figuring out how we could, locate the funds in order to get a methanol engine or a dual fuel methanol diesel engine into the state and be able to actually run it and show that that could be a viable, replacement for rural power in villages or for drill rigs. Our long-term interests, of course, in helping to transition to better fuels and help support that. But I think that's a sort of a near-term thing where we're just trying to take an existing technology and get it here.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, JR, the ask is for any expertise or resources around getting a demonstration methanol or dual fuel methanol ethanol engine in the state as a demonstration. Is that correct?
Yes, and really it's, I guess I haven't really sharpened the ask for this group very well, just highlighting it's a project that I think is achievable in the near term that might align with what we're trying to do.
Okay. Any comments or questions or clarifications for JR on this ask? The room is silent.
Well, Bill Leedy asked a question in the chat.
Okay. Thank you.
He said, did Maersk decide to fuel its container ship conversion new build or all new ships on methanol? And the answer is yes, and it's not just Maersk. It's Maersk was the first, along with Stena Bulk, but there are a large number of marine shippers who are ordering new build methanol ships. They had sort of the real short version is that they needed to meet climate targets very soon. I think a lot of them are looking at ammonia as a longer term solution, but methanol was something that was immediately deployable. And so they're working to get methanol ships built, and then right now trying to incentivize production of green methanol to start greening up the supply of methanol.
Will the drivetrains be multi-fuel? Will the ICEs or CTs be able to operate on either methanol or ammonia with reasonable adjustments?
You're starting to get into questions of marine engineering I can't answer for you. I do know that it's not all coming from one engine manufacturer and it's not all one ship design. So I suspect it's going to depend on the company and the ship exactly what they're doing. But all the things that I've seen have been dual fuel, or meaning either conventional fuel or methanol, or just strictly methanol. I haven't seen anything where they've said they could take ammonia in the same engine that they're ordering for the methanol yet, but that may be because I just haven't seen it.
Okay.
So Aaron, we need to recruit a marine engine person for the group here.
Okay, I have a couple people in mind. I think we can probably take this offline. Are any of the hands raised in regard to this topic?
I think mine is.
Okay, go ahead, Kai.
Just briefly, it's not my project, but there was an announcement here just in the last few days. It looked like some ferry folks were working on a diesel electric type of option. And I'm wondering if we can somehow pull in some folks that are involved with the ferry system and the funding available for alternative energy for the ferry system and try and get hydrogen on their radar screen. I am excited about what we're doing here. I was kind of disillusioned to think that diesel electric would be the pathway for our ferry system, given all this other energy that we're putting into alternative sources of energy. And I don't know if there's someone on this call that's familiar with that project or if we can somehow make that connection for future discussions. Thanks.
And the same for the new Coast Guard ships.
Okay. Tim, I see you raising your hand. Michael, did you want to answer something to that regard?
I just wanted to ask JR if there was a specific size of engine that he was looking for, and specific type, whether it's a G drive or variable speed or anything like that.
So there are different types of engines that would be interesting for different applications, but we've had some interest from one of the people on the North Slope in getting a 1 megawatt size engine that would be used for drilling. So that's obviously going to have to deal with, much more variation on load than if it were like a marine engine.
Right. So in regard to drilling, would that be like an electric drilling package, like for an electric top drive or a mechanical engine? Or, I mean, we could discuss this later if you'd like.
Yeah, we could, and some of it is I would have to turn around and ask someone else. But right now the biggest hurdle we're finding is trying to get the right engine manufacturer talking to the right person at the EPA, so we can actually get an engine that could be distributed.
Got it.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'd love to connect with you offline.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Tim, did you have something quick to add there?
Yeah, sure. This was just in response to Kai's question on the ferry side of things. So as he was inferring or indicating that the Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities is working with a few different entities, AML, Alaska Municipal League, and Southeast Conference in particular, as well as Launch Alaska. And they've been pursuing some of the federal funding available for low emissions ferries, which includes electric and or hybrid. So the first application or proposal was put in for a shuttle vessel, so shorter distance run would be all electric. And then there's some thinking about alternatives, which could include some hydrogen. So this goes back to Aaron, your charge of all of us, to all of us, which is to bring in others. So DOT and some of the staff that we've been coordinating with are going to be on that list.
Okay, great. And I'll just say to Tim, please give me specific names to include in future invites. I see Garrison has his hand up. Do you have something quick there, Garrison?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention that typically when I've seen reference to dual fuel engine designs, they're usually hydrolyzing the ammonia and injecting hydrogen gas directly into the engine that they're co-firing with methanol.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. JR, I think you've got a small army there to work with. So yeah. I'm going to charge you with this and expect great things from you moving forward. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Are there any other short-term tangible project needs that anyone would like to put out to the group here?
Aaron, I also suggest you get somebody from Ballard who are offering the wave fuel cell for marine applications. Gang as many of them together as you need for as many megawatts as you need for a hydrogen fueled fuel cell electric drive, typical of most of the ships these days. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. All right, this is great so far. I appreciate it. And I'm going to rely on all of you just to be checking the chat here. And again, we'll post this on our working group website, and we'll have some notes as well that Patty is thankfully and graciously putting together. But I'm hoping that people are making the connections that they need to make here. So what I'd like to close with, and hopefully give you part of this 2-hour block back, is moving forward. And we have a couple different questions. One is the frequency with which we'd like to have these working group meetings. And we'll have these sort of subgroup spin-offs working on these different projects that can provide updates at those meetings. So the frequency that we'd like to have these meetings at, and then sort of the manner in which we'd like to conduct them. If they should be all virtual, if we'd like them to be, hybrid, virtual, in person, and also how we'd like to structure them as well. One idea I have, copying Gwen Holman's successful nuclear working group efforts, is to get together periodically around this sort of lunch hour time, 11-ish to 1-ish, where we do updates, wide-ranging updates, specific project updates. We have a short presentation on a topic of interest, and I know there's a lot of topics of interest here, and I could pick some easily from some of the introductions and questions that were asked, and that makes the bulk of our meeting. So maybe an hour and a half or so, and we could do that quarterly. We could do that, once a month. And then the other question is, well, first, let me just stop there and say, do folks like that general format of updates and a presentation, or are there significant displeasure or even approval of that idea? And Kai, I see your hand up. I don't know if that's still up from before or if you have a reaction there.
But just a reaction. I just want to observe, I believe the Hydrogen Hub concept papers are due in a week from now or so. And it sure seems like our next meeting would benefit from potentially something not too far after that to learn about what hydrogen concept proposals were put in and try and understand how we can link and leverage some of the different efforts that are going on there. So I guess a suggestion for our next meeting, taking advantage of what I assume is going to be a lot of great thinking, ideas, and I hope some collaboration opportunities that come from that.
Okay, noted. And I think we can follow up with Brad Chastain and the folks at AGDC once they get through this week, which is, they're in crunch time right now. Garrison, I see your hand up.
Yeah, just actually in response to the last comment, I just wanted to ask Brian Rogers if he had an update on the Hydrogen Hub paper, and if there were any specifics that needed fleshing out in the next week.
No, I haven't been working on the Hydrogen Hub project.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard that.
No, that was Brad Chastain from AGDC, who is.
Oh, Brad. Brad, did he leave?
I'm here.
Yeah. Were you looking for anything else to put into your Hydrogen Hub proposal, or do you have everything you need?
We have everything we need. We're essentially done at this point. And I'm sure everyone's very interested in, if you haven't maybe had the chance to hear me speak about the conceptual hydrogen hub that we've been working on at some of the conferences this year, or we haven't had a personal conversation. I'm sure most folks are interested and intrigued as to what's going into this concept paper. And I'd be happy to provide an overview at a future meeting when we have more time allocated. I would just note that if you get into the details of the FOA and you look back all the way back to last spring on the RFI under this program, the clarifications this summer out of the Department of Energy, some of the most recent questions and answers that they're putting out under this FOA. It's a big volume of information to absorb, and there's only a few of us who are probably allocating that time right now. You'll come to understand that the Department of Energy is looking for the shortest path to commercial quantities of hydrogen, either pure hydrogen or in the form of carriers, agnostic as to source right now. So obviously we're focused on a conventional methane reforming approach with a near-term capability to bring up the existing nutrient plant back into production. So we have infrastructure already in place. We have the sequestration potential in Cook Inlet to match up with that. So we've got a very nice story that we think is the most competitive concept for Alaska under this program, but really it's meant to be the bedrock by which the ecosystem would grow, and all the other possibilities that so many of you are working on or interested in or have experience with. And we're really looking to ACEP and this team to lead the ecosystem development. That's what we've portrayed in the concept paper. And DOE wants to know that that will happen because the concept is a hub will lead to a much greater hydrogen economy. So you'll just have to trust me that we've carried your water collectively, but it's only a 20-page limited paper. So we can't write dissertations. We have to be very concise and make sure we're fully responsive to the technical criteria of the FOA, which is all about show us exactly how you're going to produce hydrogen, the schedule, the scope, the resources, and the private sector parties that will bring the 50% or more funding to the program if we're selected. So I look forward. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. It's been a tough couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to really sharing all this with Alaska, and we'll have a press release that'll be going out early next week on this topic also. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Brad, very much. And thank you for all the effort you're putting into it. I know you're down to the wire. Bill, did you have a comment?
Kai and Brad, great idea to chat up about the concept papers, but don't you find that those are going to be very confidential, especially in detail, especially when more than several partners are involved? We, at least on the BMW H2, we are not at liberty to talk about such things. We've all signed confidentiality agreements, but nice to chat about them to the extent that we can. Thank you.
Absolutely. We will do our best. So I will talk to Brad offline about that. Nathan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted, so for clarification, I think in the FOA that it said that you could add people going to the full proposal. So I mean, because I don't think you're necessarily fixed. So if there are groups, you know, and if as we continue to work through this and it makes sense to, you know, try to organize efforts, I think that is an option, is to add people on the full proposal.
Okay. Great. All right. Let me just ask, we could move forward with quarterly meetings. We could move forward with monthly meetings. We'll make a final decision in consultation with folks, but let me just ask if there are strong preferences one way or the other.
Better move quickly on to harvest everything we can from the H2 hubs. That's a fast moving train with the full application due April 7th.
Okay, so Bill wants to move quickly. Any other strong preferences for frequency of meetings?
Yeah,
go ahead, George.
I would encourage us to, at least for the next couple months, meet monthly, just to kind of see what coalesces and then figure out what's farther apart. But we're still in the foreman and storeman phase, and it just feels like we don't want to give away too much time.
Okay. That's a great comment, George. I appreciate it. JR?
Just a suggestion that if we're, the sharing of updates might be best done in some sort of an email or text format, as it takes a long time to do it on Zoom. And maybe if we just had people writing a few sentences, and then we could kind of bundle them and people could read them, and then save the meeting for actively collaborating.
Great. That's a terrific suggestion. I appreciate that. Any other comments about frequency or structuring the meetings? Okay, thank you. The other piece of that I want to bring up is now that I think we're heading out of the pandemic, although we've had lots of sick people at my household, just not COVID recently. We could combine these virtual meetings with some in-person happy hours in even different places around the state. You know, I think we've got at least Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau represented here, and I think we will always have a virtual option, and perhaps, you know, then, you know, we could alternate having some in-person gatherings for whoever is available in whatever locations afterwards. So let's say our next meeting, we have a virtual meeting, and then we have a happy hour or something together in Anchorage, and then maybe the next meeting we do that in Fairbanks. And to the extent that technology lets us, maybe the meeting itself is a hybrid virtual in-person, so that We can have some in-person interaction, but we also still maintain availability and accessibility to everyone around the state, and then, you know, rotate the places that we have these different in-person gatherings afterwards. So I hope that makes sense, but let me just see if there are any strong reactions to that idea. I see a thumbs up from Tim, and I think I saw a thumbs up from JR. So
Here's an amen. Is that a strong reaction?
from you, yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And I see some other thumbs up. Okay, and I don't see any strong objections, so it looks like at least a few people like the idea and might come. Let me just ask, are there, do we have any other areas within the state? I know there's some, we've got some outsiders on the call, but any other areas within the state besides Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau represented? I know we've got Ingomar from Ambler. Just out of curiosity, where else geographically within the state do we have represented here?
This is Teresa M. again, and I'm representing North Slope entities, North Slope of Alaska.
Okay. Maybe we should have a meeting up there. We'll see.
Mike Kraft, Delta Junction, Alaska.
At this point, that would work.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Well, I am going to wrap this up here and give you the last bit of the hour back. Are there any further concerns or questions or announcements or things that I might have forgotten before we bid goodbye to each other?
Yeah, have you reached out? So I used to work at UAF, and I graduated from UAF in the chemistry department, and I always worked to try to create a linkage between the engineering department and the chemistry department. It was always, you know, kind of impossible, but you know, I thought I should at least point that out. You know, it'd be nice to have somebody from the chemistry department.
Okay. We can certainly reach out to them, and Garrison, you might be interested to know that I am trained as a chemist, so I love that idea. So great.
I'm also a proud UAF chemistry graduate.
Go chemists. They're just the best people, aren't they? Any other announcements or questions?
Thanks so much for putting this together and for hosting, Aaron.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
All right. And you'll see Kai put Startup Week in the chat there. Again, we'll post the recording. We'll have some notes. We will have follow-up communications. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you have anything that you want to convey to me about the meeting or topics. I'll put my email address there in the chat. So thank you all. Appreciate your participation. Have a wonderful day. The sun is shining in Anchorage, and I hope you all see a glimpse of it